Sandman.
Greetings friends. In this video, I'm going to tell you about Trevor Henderson's giants. You will learn the story of their origins, where they came from, what kinds of giants there are and who was the first of them. The giants, also known as the Titans, are a group or possibly species of creatures that are canon to the Trevor Henderson mythos. They inhabit a separate universe from the original one, the one in which the various other monsters, like Cartoon Cat and Siren Head, reside. The giants have a unique origins compared to other creatures in the mythos. They did not originate on Earth or any other planet, nor did they arrive from the void. Instead, these enormous creatures are said to have originated from an entirely different dimensional space. The main source of information regarding their origins is the caption of the Tendril Giant, which states that the two moons were theorized to be a sign of the overlapped spaces, though honestly most of the scientific world threw its hands in the air and gave up long before the Titans. If the humans were correct, then this would mean that the giants have some sort of ability or technology that would allow them to easily hop through dimensions. There is also evidence to suggest that the way that the creatures entered our dimension is via the sky itself, and the second moon that the people had observed may have actually been a large dimensional portal in the sky. In a response to a comment on his post with the giant with red dots, Trevor suggested that the aforementioned creature is actually opening up the skies, possibly to let other giants in. This could be what is seen happening with Sky Tentacles, who is seen quite literally exiting from a rift in the clouds. What is still unclear, however, is how and why the giants actually traveled to Earth via overlapped spaces. The best theory as of now is that the giants were actually summoned by another group of creatures known as the Moon Worshippers. The creatures were stated to seem fairly harmless at first, but then the photographer said that they only found out much later what they were talking to, what they were bringing towards us, like a light on the shore shining through choppy seas. It is safe to assume that the creatures that they were communicating with are the giants, which are stated to be their masters. A fairly self-explanatory classification. Any giant which bears great or at least some resemblance to an existing animal is placed in this category. Creatures in this class don't necessarily have to resemble a single animal, and can be a combination of different animal features, like passerby at night. A good example of this category is Behemoth, which strongly resembles a reptile, most likely an iguana. A surprisingly broad visual classification of giants, the humanoid category of creatures are any giants that have a human-like body structure. This consists of having a long torso, 2 arms on the shoulders, 2 legs, and a head. Of course, certain members of this classification may have missing or additional body parts, or their body structure, or some parts of it might have disproportionate proportions compared to humans, but they still have a human-like body shape. Humanoid giants are the most variable when it comes to size, ranging anywhere from 50 feet tall to a few kilometers. The most popular example of a humanoid giant is Breaking News. The final appearance category of giants is the unusual form. As the name would suggest, creatures in this category do not resemble any known living organisms on Earth. While similarities can be drawn to certain earthly beings, there are no real creatures that they directly parallel. The best example of a giant with an unusual form is the meatball, while the creature may be drawn resemblance to an actual meatball, or a sphere-shaped animal or organism of some sort. There are 3 different behavior classifications that a giant may have that determine its actions and role in completing their goal. Giants in the collection behavior type prefer to wander around any areas with human civilization. As their name would suggest, they are tasked with collecting worthy humans using large limbs or a number of extendable tendrils protruding from their bodies, then they will proceed to ascend them far above the clouds and into salvation. These types of giants consist only of flying creatures or ones that are several thousand feet tall, except for one. Most of these creatures are relatively harmless, only causing passive damage due to their enormous size. The most common type of giants, the destruction behavior category, is self-explanatory. These members are tasked with killing the unworthy humans that will not be collected by the giants in the previous behavior type. As such, this behavior classification also contains some of the strongest and largest giants, or ones with special abilities, like having control of certain elements. Their careless destruction makes them responsible for causing a great deal of destruction to the environment. This category also consists mostly of humanoid giants, as their body structure lends them to be very agile and versatile with their movements, especially their arms. Some giants in this category are known to be more intelligent and malicious than the others, as they have been observed to have some fun terrorizing or stalking their victims before killing them. The rarest type of giants, only consisting of a few members, are the observing giants. These giants are easily identified by having large staring eyes, and are theorized to observe the behavior of humans in a given area, in order to relay the information to other giants in order for them to give their judgment. The observing giants are also multi-purpose, also falling into one of the other categories. The most famous example of an observing giant is the bird watcher, known for its many watching eyes. It also doubles as a collection giant, using its large tentacles to grab people. The giants have certain abilities and properties which are always passively active when they are moving around. The most notable ability of these creatures is their ability to seemingly ignore the laws of physics. Due to the square-cube law, a living organism of the same magnitude as the giants would not be able to exist or even thrive, since their organs would have collapsed within a short period of time. The only way that they could feasibly exist is if they only stayed on or under water, but there is actually only a single known giant that lives in the water. Another one of their abilities is to somewhat defy gravity, which could actually explain the previous conundrum. There are a number of giants whose legs are not large or strong enough to support their enormous bodies, yet still walk and even run around normally without incident. It is possible that they abide by their own laws of physics in their dimension, which is similar to ours, but with noticeable differences. The last passive ability of the giants is the manifestation of thick mist in the surrounding area. It is unknown what advantage this gives the creatures, as they are still just as visible in the mist as they are without it, and certain giants don't even possess this ability. It is possible that the mist that giants create are actually part of their bodily functions. Despite acting like mindless animals, they do seem to have a level of intelligence, as they are able to communicate to one another, speak human language, and understand human behavior. This allows them to judge if someone is worthy or not. Some giants even celebrate man-made events or concepts like genders or holidays. They are also cunning, able to camouflage or conceal themselves, giving them a sense of stealth, despite their massive size. Specific giants also have sort of strange supernatural abilities which help them achieve their goal more effectively than others. There are the elemental giants, which control a certain natural element, like fire, air, and lightning. There are also some giants who use their properties to disorient victims. Some giants are able to fly, some can reproduce, and some have more supernatural abilities like teleportation, instant dimensional phasing, and attracting birds. Trevor has stated that he intentionally wants to keep the true goals and motives of the giants as a mystery, stating that they are beyond our understanding. However, what we do understand is the current goal of the giants, which is to collect or kill certain humans based on their worthiness. What happens after this is completely unknown. It is implied that certain humans which have been pre-chosen by a giant will be collected in the near future. To be collected by a giant means that you will be ascended up to the skies and be taken to what we assume is some form of heaven, which may actually just be the realm of the giants. Each giant has its own way of determining people's worthiness. Some collect people who worship it, some collect people based on how good of a person they are, and some just collect people at random. Certain giants don't even collect humans, just killing them instead. In a way, the giants may represent the role of angels, bringing about a sort of biblical Armageddon akin to that seen in the Bible. But unlike said event, the giants are taking this apocalypse very slowly, preferring to bide their time, making their destructive time on Earth span well over a few decades. And unlike the biblical angels, it is unknown if they have a leader that is commanding them to do what they do best. If there is, then it would likely be some sort of incomprehensible godlike being. Prior to the arrival of the giants, there were only the moon worshippers on Earth. They were a group of strange humanoid creatures that come out during full moons in order to worship it by finding the highest point they can find, and raising their arms up to the sky. They continued to do this for several weeks, with little regard for properties that they damage. They were relatively harmless and were not considered a threat, that is until strange phenomena started happening, signaling the arrival of the giants. They were actually communicating with the giants, telling them to come to Earth for an unknown reason. Not long after the moon worshippers finished their weeks of communication, something that was described to be a second moon had appeared. As previously mentioned, this anomaly is actually very likely just a large portal that the giants used to travel to Earth. By this point, the scientific community had already given up trying to find a logical explanation for this strange second moon, as they hadn't seen anything like it before. Some people proposed the idea of it being a sign of overlapped dimensional spaces, however people obviously didn't such claims. Unfortunately, they were proven wrong soon enough. The next events that transpired absolutely devastated humanity. On December of 1988, the first two giants had arrived on Earth through the portal. These two giants are who we now know as the precursor of the First War and Sky Tentacles. It is unknown who actually came first, but we do know that Sky Tentacles needed photographic evidence before people had started believing in its existence, due to it have the ability and tendency to quickly hide back into the giant's dimension. The precursor also arrived around this time, but the humans saw it as much more of a threat, as it did not try to retreat back into the portal. Being a destruction giant, it attacked countless people and ravaged cities. The humans fully recognized that it was aggressive, and decided to fight back against this opposition by trying to kill it. This is what prompted the first war between giants and humans, as well as what gave the precursor its name. The war between humans and giants raged on for at least 3 years. Their main goal was to take down the precursor, using everything in their arsenal to do so. There were many people evacuated, and even more killed. During this time, many other giants had started appearing as well. After 3 long years of intense combat with the precursor, the humans were actually able to triumph and kill it. This was celebrated by people all around the world, with the phrase "May it never live again" being uttered by everyone when referring to the event. This celebration would not last very long, however, as the number of giants had started to become overwhelming, and they would not be able to fight all of them at once, especially when taking into account the fact that it took 3 whole years just to kill a single one. The humans most likely tried to fight back for a short while, causing the second war between humans and giants. But due to the overwhelming number of giants causing destruction around the world, the humans eventually decided to give up fighting with them and just accepted the giants as a part of daily life. All kinds of giants roamed the world, killing and ascending humans. After a while, the humans eventually adapted to the presence of the giants. They've roamed the earth long enough for people to understand their behavior and make changes to their way of life based on these behaviors. These changes were made in order to decrease the number of casualties and prevent catastrophic damage to properties. These changes are: the humans had constructed many containment fields throughout the world in order to protect themselves from giants. As the name would suggest, these fields were used to keep the creatures at bay for a while, giving people time to go about their day or evacuate if the giant is particularly close. These fields span several kilometers, and are placed on islands that are completely empty, but also have hilly terrain to slow them down even more. The construction of these fields were conceptualized when people noticed that the giants move rather slowly, so making them traverse large terrains surrounded with water delays them by a significant amount. Giants that have been seen in these fields are the bird watcher, remain indoors, the wandering doom, and tree head. A self-explanatory and simple precaution, public warnings are shared by authorities, news stations, and government officials that inform the public if a giant is nearby, as well as what people should do in the situation. People are also encouraged to look for and report any signs of incoming giants, like earthquakes, extremely misty weather, the sky changing color, bright lights in the skies, or suspicious natural disasters involving fire, lighting, or gas. These warnings are usually communicated in the same ways that a tornado warning would be. In the event that a giant is in close proximity to a populated area, people are warned about it immediately, and are instructed to head to the nearest evacuation site to protect from the damage caused by the titans. These sites would likely be located in heavily fortified hidden areas, most likely underground, as to prevent detection and destruction from the creatures. By the year 2027, humans have fully accepted and adapted to the giants as part of their daily life. Even still, many people are still devastated by their effect on Earth's environment and population. After almost 40 years of them killing and ascending humans, it's likely that millions, or maybe even billions have perished, with more to come. The arrival of giants have yet to cease, as evident by the visiting of the misty guests.